Hi, this is what is it, Tuesday, April 25th. This is the weekly TST meeting, and luckily I have a working pair of working headset today, so should not be quite as chaotic as last week. Um, okay, so we can dive into the agenda item. If anybody wants to add any items to the agenda too, feel free. Okay, so for the BB Sim tool, I did some work on the release job. This is just a status update for it. There is still a problem being reported, very strange problem. When we try to do a release and publish the binaries up to GitHub for BBSim, the same command line works fine for VOLTHA, and I can copy the command line that Jenkins is running locally and interactively run it, and that works fine. But Jenkins, for some reason, is coming when the job is run through Jenkins. For some reason, it's coming up with a 404 error, which there's probably something with the command line, but I haven't found it yet. Just FYI, GitHub with the new GH command line tool that we're using, GitHub has a feature that's announcements that we were required to configure to be able to use the GH tool. Just FYI, if you go to GitHub and register for announcements, whenever we do a release for like VOLTHA or BBSim, they'll send a status update email, so you can get notified asynchronously when updates are when releases are pushed out. And this is just what the release message looks like. Okay, so the fun one. So we have a rancher cluster that's being used for testing. We're running some Docker images in it. We're running some containers in it, and there's a lot of stuff going on in there. There's been reports of the message comes through as disk pressure on, or no disk pressure. So it looks like there's a disk space issue, and I'm trying to track this down now. The machine physically has plenty of disk space. There's only been 15% of the total disk used. I've gone through all of the containers, all of the Docker images, yada, 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 all the systems I can find. And I've yet to find any machines that are actually having disk space of anything of note. I've run maintenance or performed maintenance on the nodes, a lot of the common stuff like purging detached images that may be hanging around and taking up space, cleaning up volumes, images, containers, yada, yada, yada. So far, I haven't been able to track down where the source is coming from. So what the behavior is right now is Rancher continuously tries to start some of the pods. While during initialization, the message about node pressure kicks in, ends up failing startup of the nodes because of the disk pressure issue. And then it just gets into a cycle and doesn't do anything very useful. That's still in progress right now. One of the things I found that could be contributing to this, but I don't know if this is going to be coming from one of the rancher images that are being used internally. People have had problems with log rotation. If log rotation has not been set up and you have containers or images that are long running, you shut down, you bring them back up, run another job, shut down, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, the logs are not rotated. They take up enough space. You start having disk issues. That's kind of what it looks like is going on here. But again, I have to find the source before we can fix that. But that's under examination. Does anybody have any questions or anything about that?
So what is the effect for this? But
I'm sorry, let me turn my headset up a little bit. I couldn't hear you.
what is the effect for us right now? What
if any test jobs try to hand work over to the rancher cluster, those attempts will fail. because the nodes are not available. And what's making this a little bit fun is it's not just Rancher you have to look at. There's Rancher, there's Kubernetes running on here, there's Docker running on here, etcd, there's a whole bunch of moving parts. Okay, so
Joy,
go ahead.
is that machine used for tests or builds or what? I mean, as far as I know, we do the tests, on Berlin pod. So what's this Rancher cluster used for?
I'm not entirely sure. It's doing some work. I'm not exactly what's getting shoveled over to it though.
And you said this is not a physical machine. It's something on Amazon Web Services. Is it correct?
Physical machine. Do you mean the file system?
No. I mean, this is not a bare metal machine that we're using in any of our labs. This is an AWS VM.
Yes, I want to say, yeah, Rancher is running in AWS.
Okay.
So then, do we see some failures when we push a Gerrit patch? So how did you get this error? Trying to understand. So, for example, can't we push something to Gerrit right now? I still couldn't understand the effort.
Well, there's another piece in here that's obscuring the details a little bit. There's also a problem with the Berlin community pod. I'll do both of these at the same time. The Berlin community pod has been going offline for some reason. There's 4 IPs connected to the Berlin community pod. I don't know if there's overlap between the Rancher problem and the Berlin problem. I don't think there is, but the community pod machines are not, or the 4 IPs that are connected to the Berlin community pod and the management console that goes with them. None of those 8 IPs I've been able to SSH into. SSH is almost silent, so I don't know. I don't think it's, I sent out a message about this earlier in Slack. I don't think it's possible. It might be a host problem, but I don't believe it is because we have multiple IPs being affected. I'm thinking it might be a firewall problem or a networking problem since we can't talk to any of the 8 machines. And that brings up a question. If anybody from the DT lab is on, has the machine physically been checked on yet? And has anybody rebooted it by any chance?
Is no one from DT in the meeting? And I think Amit, are you still in Berlin?
Yes, I am in Berlin, but yeah, I don't have an answer to the question.
Yes, I asked the DT staff for rebooting the switch, but I did not get any answer till now. It was late in the afternoon today, so maybe tomorrow we will know more. But Amit, can you push it a little bit? Is it possible? Are you in the ONF lab? Or
No, not possible for me to access the lab directly. So, but let me check with. I think Björn is also not available. So, whom are you interacting with, by the way? Tristan?
Björn and Mike.
Okay, let me check with Mike if he has any info. So the request is to reboot the switch, right?
Right.
Okay.
And Serkan, to answer your question, this started out looking into why the Berlin community pod #1 was offline. And that I ended up on the Rancher server, and there's an event log in the Rancher server, and that's where I started finding these disk pressure issues.
Joey, both pods are
Yep.
offline
Right.
in Berlin. 1 and 2.
Well, I was starting with number 1 since that was the one that was functional before.
Yeah, I think it's the same gateway there.
Okay. Okay, so unfortunately, we do not have any status updates for most of these because they're still under research. Would anybody like to cover anything off of Community Pod 1 or 2 before we continue? I know, happy news for a Monday. Let me see. This goes back to the week prior. Torsten and I had run into something just to make everybody aware of this. So the way revision control is set up, you can access VOLTHA sources through either Garrett or through GitHub. GitHub is actually a read-only mirror. So if you ever check in changes and you maybe don't see files right away over in GitHub, Garrett always holds the truth for when changes are checked in. You should expect them to appear immediately on Garrett. There may be a little bit of a delay because the changes then have to be mirrored out to GitHub. It's not a large delay, but if you ever see any variations, always check Garrett first because that's where the truth will be. Okay, so with that, I guess the floor is open if anybody has anything to add or you want to talk about.
Regarding the GitHub issue, do you have any idea when it will be solved? I saw in CI management the last update was on March the 10th made, and I know you already did a lot of changes in this repo.
Could you refresh my memory which GitHub problem it was?
I see that the GitHub is not updated since 1 month. That's my feeling. Or more than a month, and should be something triggered there that it will be updated.
Are you saying well, to start with, which repository are we talking about? Is it CI management?
Right.
Okay, so changes checked into CI management have not been mirrored out to GitHub? Or they're not visible on GitHub?
Not visible in GitHub.
Okay, I'll have to check. I don't think I was aware of that problem.
The last changes were seen in this repo were from the March the 10th.
Okay. Just FYI, how to phrase this? The case you just described will not affect Jenkins' job because Jenkins' jobs because Jenkins always pulls from Garrett. This would only affect people trying to clone from the GitHub repository. But yeah, I'll check on that. Oh, excuse me. If anybody has anything else to add, feel free to jump in. I'm just going to type in some notes.
Okay, Abhilash here. So the Volta protos is still failing. The unit tests are failing. So you got a chance to check? Okay, we're audible.
The audio
Hello?
I heard was a little bit low. Is anybody, can everybody else hear Avalash?
I can hear but cannot understand. Actually, it's not clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold on, give me a minute.
Joey, I see Mike is now in the meeting. Maybe we can repeat the discussion about the community pod.
Mike, we were just wondering, there's been some problems accessing the Berlin Community Pod 1 machine. So I did some very quick checks just to see if I could, ping the machine and see if I can SSH into it. So the machine, the host has 4 IP addresses around it for the cluster. I've not been able to contact any of the 4 IPs that Jenkins would normally interact with the node, and I've also not been able to access the management console IPs. So that's a total of 8 IPs that were that do not seem to be responsive externally. I was wondering if anybody had physically checked on the machine and possibly rebooted it or rebooted the switch. And if not, could we request to have that done?
Yeah, yes, we can do that, but no, currently nobody was on the machines and we don't have access to the machines itself, so we cannot log in and see what's running on the servers. But are you able to ping the switch?
Oh, I don't think I did the switch. I was just doing the machines.
Okay. Yeah, because I just want to check if you can ping the switch, then you can also reach the network from the outside. Otherwise, there maybe is a problem that you can't reach the network from the outside. But my last point was that you had issues with the disk space, right? So I think you sent an email that there was a problem on this on the Kubernetes server that they're running out of space, and that's the reason why the pods didn't come up, right?
What's the problems is with the Rancher server. It's probably, yes, it's probably Kubernetes. It looks like just everything I've looked at, all of the nodes that are connected to the machine have not been able to find evidence of disk-based problems. You see, there is also an overlay 2 file system that's being used with the cluster. So I don't know if the disk space issue might be with a virtual disk. We've got to read up around the overlay 2 stuff. Oh, so you think the Berlin pod nodes might not be accessible because Rancher is talking to them? That's a possibility.
But the history was at first the Ranger server were out, I think 1 week, and then the community pods were offline. So I think it's a different issue.
Different problem. Yeah, that's reasonable. Oh, actually, you're probably right, because the SEBA, what is it? The SEBA nodes spreadsheet that has all of the hosts and the IP information on it did document that was an HP machine, or the Berlin community pod was running on an HP machine, so that probably is distinct given Rancher's running in AWS.
But maybe it's a further good idea to make a call with some DT stuff that you can give help to see some debug information on the pod. Is this possible from your side, Joey?
I can't access either. The management console is what I would end up going in to look at the debug stuff.
The issue is that the DT stuff cannot come into the switch because they don't have the right credentials. Right, Mike?
Yes, so for example, I can physically access the servers, but I don't have any username password, so I cannot check anything like on the server if there's anything working from the network perspective. I just can see the cabling and the ports being up, but I'm not able to see what's behind. So yeah, we can also have a dedicated troubleshooting session with Joey and see what's going on there.
Okay,
Might be a good
sure.
idea.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. Well, later on, if you want to let me know when you have free time, we can schedule a debugging session.
Today I'm not in the lab, but I will check with Björn also if he is in the lab and could assist you as well.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I'm audible now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. The Volta Proto's pipeline is still failing, Joey. We're working on it. So I see today still it's failing. I'm not sure.
Was there a ticket open for this? If it was the Volta Protos were failing?
I think so. There was one in last meeting. I think so. You said you were working on it. Okay, I'll check if it's not the report. I can raise one. Yeah. You did have a look and try to recheck the Volta Protos repo for the merge request which I had raised. I thought you were working on it, so or else I can raise one ticket, no problem.
I probably am. I just have so many tickets open right now. I can't. They're hard to
Joey,
keep track of.
probably this was the tickets I opened.
Yeah, my head. 4977, I guess.
This one.
Yes, this one.
Oh, whoops. Bear with me for just a second. Yeah, the rancher and the clusters going offline kind of took preempted everything.
You feel there's a timeout occurred here during
Oh yeah, that's
creating a zip, yeah.
that's right. Oh yeah, I did start. Oh yes, that's right. I did start to build this. I got a Docker image set up locally and I started building it. I was going to get on the machine to try and figure out where this was getting hung, but yeah, Rancher intervened. This is still on the open list.
Okay.
Oh, let's see, where did that go? Just put it on here so we don't lose it. Okay, let me see, does any, we can move on to the next topic if anybody has one.
I have
Hello,
another
guys.
slide.
This is Marcos.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. I'll take question after. Go ahead.
Oh, no, okay. I just would like to mention about the firmware upgrade. Né? Last week we have discussed that maybe we will open a ticket to have more information about the problem. So I can contribute with some logs or the problem that we have faced in Furukawa.
Have you discussed this with Chip again? Well, what could help? What logs could help? Which logs could help?
Yeah, GP has helped me a lot, but with the last patch that he provided, I'm still stuck using the real hardware. But I tried another approach using BibSim with the extended feature, but I still have problems when running with the simulator. I'm not sure if we have a Jenkins job running the extended firmware upgrade that works fine. Besides the real hardware.
Thorsten, do you remember if there are Jenkins shops testing the extended software upgrade with BVSim?
Yes, I think so.
I think so, no?
Yes, we have some.
Mm-hmm.
I think I duplicated all the normal to the extended.
Okay, I took a look to see the logs and to compare with my execution. Okay. Okay, but I think if you open a ticket, I can contribute with some with the problem in another way.
Which ticket was it? It's the ticket you want to look at in the agenda somewhere?
Marcos?
Yeah.
Do you have the ticket number?
No, I I thought that you opened the ticket. I'm not sure. I think that we do not have a ticket for this problem.
I think last week we discussed if you could write one, right? To open a new Jira ticket.
Yeah.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, our understanding was to open, but I think that it's not in the agenda that this will be done.
Was it a week before? I don't know when it was.
Yeah. It was last week, but I think that nobody put it down. I think that there is no notes in the agenda.
Well, if anybody opened a ticket or opened the ticket in question, I can add it in right now.
Mm-hmm.
If we
Marcus,
know what the
I believe you can open the ticket.
But I think the description has to come from you, right?
Yeah, you're sure. Marcel, I can try to open. I'm not sure if I have the right, but let's see.
If you have any trouble opening the ticket, if you have any permission problems, feel free to email them or send it to me in Slack and I can open it up for you.
I see. Okay, and we have also another doubt about the memory leak during running in scale. I know that you are some investigation when new adapter or other components, but in fact, when we run, for example, the OLT delete at scale, the ONU adapter memory grows a lot. Yeah. It's another point that you are investigating.
Which version are you testing?
2.10.
It probably would be a good idea to go to 2.11.
Yeah, we are trying to work with some patches from 11, trying a mix, but in fact we are not with all the commits of 11.
Okay, I've just checked that there was a commit at February 7th. But I think that this is a master, Joey, right? I think the border for 2.11 was the beginning of the year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then the main correction, I think, are in the master.
Okay. And it will cover VOLTHA core also, because I think that is another point of leak.
The core?
Yeah.
No, that is only for OpenOLU Go adapter.
Yeah, but okay.
And for OpenOLT, there's still something to fix, but it's not my play yard.
Yeah. In our test, the VOLTHA core is growing more than OLT adapter. It's the second that it grows up a lot. Mainly during the delete.
Amit, is somebody feel responsible for RW core currently?
I don't think anyone is earmarked for that.
Yeah, just for we are using pprof to track the problem, and in VOLTHA core, I think that the queue wait for green light is growing. Maybe it's not being released correctly, but it's just a feeling, not. Yeah, another point that you are trying to contribute with this, the leak.
Joey, do we have a list with responsibles for the particular components or main partners?
The only page I'm aware of is on the docsvoltha.org contributing page. I don't know if RW core is on here.
Core, Avilash.
Okay. Yeah, I can take a look. Yeah, I can take a look. We have been running, but I didn't see much of a problem. Yeah, I'll take a look, Marcos. This is on 2.10, you said, right?
Did you ask if this was 210?
Yeah, was this run on 2.10?
This should be 2.
Is there a task for that? Jira task?
Marcos.
Hello, hi.
Is there a Jira task for that? Have you
Mm.
opened the Jira task?
No, there is no Jira task.
Could-
We are just
Okay, if you can open a Jira task and put down your findings and
Mhm.
also environment and the versions of the components, that will be great. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Can do that.
I'll have a look.
Yeah, when in doubt, open a Jira ticket and capture everything. At least we have a record of it going forward then.
That's all for my side. Thank you.
Joey, some minutes ago, you talked about the synchronization issue between Garrett and GitHub, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just checked. I think that this is not restricted to CI management, but also to, for example, to the OpenONO adapter. There have been some Garrett merges, but they never made it to GitHub. The latest GitHub changes are from the middle of March.
Okay, sounds like we should be looking into that then.
Yeah. At least 2 patches that did not make it into GitHub.
Okay. I'll open a ticket and we can check on that. Okay. Guess who's next?
Hey, Joey, any updates on the permissions to access the community labs or even the pipelines to edit the pipelines? You got a chance to check with the team?
Yeah, I brought it up. Let's see. I still have to talk to him more about this. There's a couple of let's see. There's a couple of general problems we're going to have to address in order to support something like this. One is going to be how to establish secure access to machines. If people in the community need to log in, that's going to be VPN configs and SSH keys. That's one thing. In order to be able to run tests, there's another kind of general security problem we're going to have to be aware of. Testing, when it's manually kicked off, ends up running on Docker images that were built. We're gonna have to be really careful if we start doing this, because if any Docker images that are not constructed by Jenkins or the system are where am I headed with this? If there's any not questionable content, if a base image is used that has vulnerabilities or something like that in it, we could end up having problems in the Jenkins server proper if we start running things that are unknown. So that's just some of the stuff we have to think about with it.
Okay.
Okay. I guess, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add, or? Okay, I guess we have a bunch of Jira tickets open for this week and a bunch of stuff to look into. So should keep us busy for the rest of the week. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.